Thank you, PS. Naturangan na tayo ni naturangan na kini Tokay, members of the Vanua, PS Waterways and Environment, PS Wycliffe, Director Environment, our colleague from the University of the South Pacific, the head of the Institute of Applied Sciences, the acting director, Dr. Isua Kurobulula, and his team. Rokutui Nasuri and other staff from the Commissioner's Office, Dr. Tekini Nakidakida from the head of the Land and Water Resource Department in the Ministry of Agriculture, and other senior agriculture staff, Bailey there, and other staff from the Ministry of Agriculture, also staff from Ministry of Waterways, Inosi, and senior staff from Ministry of Environment, led by the Director of Environment. Ladies and gentlemen, Bulaminaka to you all. Turanga and members of the Vanua, I want to thank you all for the traditional welcoming ceremony. We all are humbled by it, and we really appreciate whenever we go to interior and we get a traditional welcome ceremony, we're quite humbled by it. And we also appreciate that our tradition, culture have been kept alive. And of course it goes to show that the leadership is ensuring that the traditional ceremonies and culture and traditions are maintained and passed down from generation to generation. So it reflects on the leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, as alluded to by PS Wycliffe, we are gathered here today to, first of all, thank you for the hard work and contributions towards the implementation of the R2R project. In this case, the project which is at the heart of biodiversity, one of the projects at the heart of biodiversity protection and resilience, the eradication of African tulips. I want to thank USP in their contribution. Is basically a USP that project, and they stood tall in terms of creating new knowledge, which is what USP and any university or research institute is supposed to do. But let me first talk about the background to the African tulip eradication project. The Fiji Reach to Reef, as the name suggests, we are somewhere at the reach now. And the reef is far down. And if you look at early settlement of Itoke communities, and the land allocation to them, they had a share of both. I don't think this village has a share of reef, but normally it would be, and particularly small island countries like Samoa, they will have part of the reach and come down to the reef so that they can have both, access to both the biodiversity, the flora and fauna at the reach, and down right to the reef, and they can have access to ocean resources as well. But some of the bigger islands is probably not possible, and I don't think they have from the reach right to the reef. So the Reach to Reef project is executed by the ministry. The ministry is a focal point with the aim to preserve biodiversity, ecosystem services, sequester carbon, improve climate resilience, sustain livelihoods for the various villages, communities through the Reach to Reef management of 6 priority water catchment on the 2 main islands of Fiji, namely the Ba River, the Tua River, the Wandina River, River Delta in Vitilevu, the Lambasa River, Munibibia River, and Tunurua district in Vanvalevu, which also I think is part of Tavini as well, if I'm right. Ladies and gentlemen, most donor-funded projects stop with the establishment of a policy paper and even science-based model. But this project is different. It extends science and takes science to the ground, because any science is basically a body of knowledge. Any body of knowledge that you create, apart from my friend from USP knows this very well, apart from publishing in I-rank journal, B-rank journals, C-rank journals, refereed journals, if that body of knowledge is not then taken to make a difference to the community, then the knowledge will have no value. It will have a value to them because they're published in a rank journal, but the entire entire purpose of science, at the end of the day, is to make a difference to the society. And that's the beauty about this project, and as you will see today, and as alluded to by P.S. Wycliffe, is the project will lead to actually, in this case, the projects deal with food security, environment, climate change, economy, society, anthropology. In this case, it's about how do we protect the biodiversity that we are blessed with from an invasive species. Unfortunately, it was introduced by us. It was foreign to us. It was brought in for a particular purpose. But little did they realize, again, in science, your research should be exhaustive. And unfortunately, at that point in time, the research was not exhaustive, and they didn't know that this could become a noxious and invasive species. Not that we don't have other noxious species. Mimoca invisa is a noxious grass that is invading our pastures. Nabua surge is a noxious weed that is invading our pastures. But this is more than that. This is about protecting our non-timber forest products, protecting our biodiversity, which for a long period of time, our people have sourced their livelihood, their sustenance. The quality of environment, it depends on our biodiversity. And one of the greatest asset this country has is the biodiversity. It is which attracts people, resources, inflow of funds, money, investors, projects, because of our biodiversity. And we cannot just stand by and let someone silently within the biodiversity invade and kill our existing natural stock of biological resources. So, ladies and gentlemen, today we have established a solution to eradicate the African tulip. The scientific name is Spodia campanulate, often known as alluded to by P.S. Wycliffe, the fame of the forest. The African tulip tree can outgrow, outmaneuver, outcompete the native trees, scorching the native vegetation in the area for various reasons. Its dispersion, how the seeds are dispersed, how rugged it is. I know after Winston, we were traveling often through Kings Road to Rekereki, that area around, and we used to see that the entire terrain, there was not a single leaf on these African tulip trees because of the intensity, the category 5 cycle. But then, so we thought that's the end of African tulip. Of course not. They came back again. So how rugged this tree is, that is one of the features of it being really invasive. So today, the solution that the team from USP led by Dr. Ishoa Korobulabula has developed, initially the natives stand at Soviet Basin Buffer Zone, which is in Wandina catchment of the Netherlands province. That was where these successful trials were conducted. The Soviet Basin is regarded as one of Fiji's essential landscape ecosystem in terms of biological and landscape heritage. The Soviet Basin has high biodiversity and is a potential genetic source for other areas in Vitilevu and the rest of Fiji. The entire landform is covered with undisturbed tropical forest. It is arguably the jewel in the crown of Fiji's protected areas system, functioning as the main storehouse of Fiji's land-based biodiversity. So an inventory undertaken by the Fijian government to determine the quantity of African tulip species within the 5-kilometer buffer zone from the Sobe Basin and all Matangari boundaries revealed how widespread the infestation of the species has been. The total estimated stock of African tulip within this 150 hectare was 4,214 cubic meter. That's massive, given that we're talking about 150 hectare. The communities of Nesabo and Delana Sakau from the Yabusa Naitabuni were selected to undertake this work. The African tulip tree is one of the fastest spreading invasive tree that threatens not only the biological resources, the biodiversity, but also traditional agriculture. And so the biodiversity conservation in Wandina and the Lambasa catchment, and is rapidly increasing in Ba and Tuba catchments as well. So through the Fiji R2R project, which is executed by the Ministry of Environment and the Ministry of Forest, Silviculture Research Division, and the USP's Institute of Applied Sciences, designed trial plots and methods to eradicate African tulip from the native stems. 4 treatment methods were assessed using the experimental design of complete randomized design on 2 plots. Methods tested were herbicide on stump, bark removal, hack and squid, and coring and drilling. The objective of this study was to determine the most effective methodology to kill African tulip trees within a shorter time frame while keeping it easy and cost effective. So the main idea was to look at what is the easiest method of killing this tree and stopping it from spreading, easiest in terms of cost, in terms of effort, in terms of the effectiveness. So the 3 control methods were selected out of this trial, and they were as follows: bark removal and girdling, hack and squid, coring and drilling. So another striking feature of this project is that the training of the community. So you can do the trial and get the results and then make the result public, but and then you move out. But the ownership always, sustainability of the project always remains with the community who lives around that area. So the beauty about this project is that it also trained the communities of the best method, how to then use that, and to ensure also that the method selected out of these 3 is cost effective. So a total of 50 community members were trained on the eradication of African tulip. The project also were closely followed by the environmental protection measures. Almost 150 acres of native forest stand has been improved, but the extent of African tulip in the catchment is far more concentrated, and we need a concerted effort from the community to eradicate, given the quick dispersal ability of African tulip. If other areas within the buffer zone are not attended to, the species will soon repopulate the 150 hectares. So you can clean up these 150 acres, but then if you wait and if you don't clean up the other areas, then the seeds will get dispersed. Again, this 150 acres or this area that you successfully cleaned up will get repopulated with African tulip. So you cannot take a break. You cannot pause. You need to continue because how the seeds are dispersed of this African tulip. So I commend the villages of Nasebo and Dalai Lasakau village for taking this significant step in extinguishing the flame of the forest within their patch. Based on the positive result and verification, I understand that 75% of the total payment of 10,000 has been paid out before Christmas last year. The remaining 25% will be paid today. But I want to urge the villages, the members of the Matagali, the community, that please continue with the momentum. What you need is basically the chemical that is used. I believe the selected method is the drilling and putting the chemical inside. In that way, you don't have to move large machines and damage the other native trees that is of importance to the community and to the country. So you can just go and wherever the tree is, breed it and put the chemical inside, and within a very short period of time, the tree will be dead. So once again, I thank the community members for participating, because the beauty about this particular research is that it carried you along in the trial, and you are now convinced, you understand how to do it, and the sustainability of this project is guaranteed. And I do hope that all the other communities throughout Fiji will adopt this methodology and will use this methodology to remove or extinguish the African tulip from their stock of native forest. Thank you, Vinaka.